What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you.
Imagine that.
What are the odds? So yet another one that came out on the 23rd of April was the newest album from Helslave, from the Sulphur Depths. This is their second album, came out on Pulverized Records. These guys formed in 2009 in Rome, Italy, and initially they started off as a melodic death metal band, and then somewhere in there they decided to shift over more towards straight up death metal, namely very Swedish sounding death metal. So pretty much, you know, packed the bags from Gothenburg and moved all the way to Stockholm by way of Italy, if that makes any sense. It doesn't. They have 2 other EPs and 1 demo, and man, this is pretty badass. I'm gonna lead in with that, and there's some key reasons why. Now, first you get the title track, which is actually an intro, and it's appropriately horror themed. I mean, when I think of Italy, I do think of metal, but I think of horror movies a lot too.
It is creepy and hellish, and
there's dripping things and
growling and groaning, and it sounds like an unfortunate time.
And then it just explodes into Unholy Graves, which was their lead-off single, and do you like Bloodbath? Do you like Dismember? I do.
Do you like Bolt Thrower? Do you like Gate Creeper?
Heavy, old school death metal, and I'm talking like Bloodbath circa Breeding Death and Resurrection Through Carnage.
Yep.
And there is a key reason why. They got Dan Swano to mix this thing, and Dan Swano strikes again. His mix on this...
I don't think could be better. I don't think... Honestly, to be honest, I think his mix really brought this album to life. Like,
he gives it such an old school feel.
Yep.
And, you know, we listen to a lot of HM2 bands. There are tons of them, and I am in love with that tone. But there's something about Dan Swano's mix. It comes off very well mixed, first off. Everything, the levels are spot on. You can hear the bass.
I don't have any complaints with the levels. Yeah, you can hear the snarl in the bass.
Ooh. Drums sound really organic.
The drums sound analog almost, which I really think is cool. The lead work sounds
crisp,
beautiful. Yeah.
And when it comes on the overall feel, like it sounds old school. Like it sounds back in the 90s, and it's not overdone in any real way. And I think that really kind of benefits, because this band's approach is very meat and potatoes.
Yes.
Straightforward. We're not fucking around. We love death metal, and we're going to bring it to you.
Yep, and they do, and they bring it in the form of just riff after riff. And there's a little bit of melody peppered in. Like, they don't sit on one mode too long. Like
that was the big thing on here.
Yeah.
Like, throughout this listen, that was something I noticed. They don't hang on one part too long, nor is it like too brief of a section. It's generally the right amount of measures. They want to make sure the riff sinks in or the melody sinks in, and then they probably move on to the next beat down.
And the songs aren't even really very long. They're between 3 and 4 minutes. I think the last one's 5 and some change. But I mean, they're like little barn burners of beat down. But then again, nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels like it's not where it should be. Like everything is peppered in perfectly for these songs.
And when it comes down to old school Swedish death metal, the thing that I love about it is the D-beat fury. Perpetual Damnation and Rotting Pile of Flesh bring that. These are lethal songs in the mosh pit. This pure pit spinner.
I think this whole album, this is going to be a very high energy pit, and
people are moving fast.
People are moving fast, and
you
there's
might
going to be
get hurt.
some deaths, and yeah.
Your beer's going to get kicked out of your hands. You're like, oh.
You know what? I would totally love that.
To have a beer kicked out of your hands?
To have a beer kicked out of my hand at a live show. I've been so long without it.
That's been a while. There's a lot of cool dynamics in there, though, too. It's, you know, very meat and potatoes, but again, they like to bring in, like, very cool, like, lead melodies on top. And again, there's just enough melody. It's just still very much brutal and heavy as hell, but just a little bit of, like, a hook, just in case, you know, you have someone that's maybe a little bit more into melodic death metal. They could probably get into this because there are enough melodic hooks. And, you know, fun stuff like the chorus in Rotting Pile of Flesh, they isolate it. It's just the vocals, and the vocals are horrendously awesome.
Yeah, yep, sounds like Satan. Actually, it just like, you, sir, sound kind of evil.
It's this great, well-enunciated gurgle, and it's very effective. And where I think it's most effective is in some of the more mid-tempo songs. Last Nail in the Coffin and Funeral Lust. It kind of gives them a chance to just ham it up, make it as dramatic as possible, take those and just let them sing across the mountains of putrid bones and shit. That's a thing in Sweden or Italy, right?
Italy.
Sure.
Rome, Italy. Funeral Lust. I think by this point in the record, this is where you become more appreciative of that dark, grimy ass guitar tone and the accompanying bass with it. Like Funeral Lust, it's just ugh.
It's filth.
Yeah.
And it's a very sludgy riff on there too. Like it's still very much in the like Stockholm HM2 sound, but there's something about how it's articulated. It sounds almost like New Orleans sludge, just a little bit.
Like a piece of me was like, what if you took COC, but you gave him a heavier guitar tone and some double kick pedals, and Pepper sounds like he has a really, really bad viral respiratory infection.
No, it's like throwing up blood in chunks. There's chunks in that.
But it's got that kind of feel. Like, it's just so straightforward and simplistic, but they did it just right to make it devastating.
Another thing they do really well, and it's kind of a small nuance thing, is atmosphere. Like I said, the intro is kind of the longest bit of atmosphere on there, but there are other sections here where it's just in there for a second. Again, something that hangs out just for the right amount of time, and it adds to the song. Last Nail in the Coffin appropriately opens up with someone getting nailed in a coffin, and then Thrive and Blasphemy actually opens up with a quote from Devil's Advocate, which, again, very appropriate. Doesn't hang out too long, but it actually kind of gives you a little bit of a mood setter there.
Yeah, it's the precursor to what's coming.
And then the tail end of the Sentence of Living gets really atmospheric. There is a gorgeous like tremolo in there, and then you have these like chants and maybe like some synths in the background.
Some clean guitar, and it's really well done.
And that song is notably different. That is the big Death Doom song. It channels more of, again, you still have that bolt thrower mid-tempo stomp, but you get some Paradise Lost in there. It's dreary. Even the lead sounds more melancholy on it.
The record overall, like the last 3-4 tracks, takes on a darker approach. Like the song Desecration, dude, sour lemons and snap necks. That's all I gotta say. It like, first of all, I never stopped banging my head throughout this record, but the riff is so nasty in the beginning of Desecration.
And it's catchy. And this song just explodes. This is a detonation. There's no lead in. You just get hit.
But the interesting thing is while it's so high energy, it's not necessarily from like the tempo. Like the rhythm is not all that fast. It's very straightforward, but the riff work in here is what makes it such high energy, and it's a nice trade-off.
Oh yeah. The guitar work across the board on this, I was hooked. These guys are playing like great, simple but effective riffs. These riffs, I mean, I imagine they kind of just sat around and was like, does this riff make you want to punch anybody? Like, well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, well, how about try it?
Put a melody over it? Well, yeah, I really want to punch him now.
Normally, I'm a stickler for really great leads and really great metal. And the leads in here were fantastic, but they're not real long. Just like everything's not real long. But it's just a perfect amount. You're like, oh my god, I bet this guy could write, a 3-minute solo and be just fine.
That was maybe like one of the only gripes I had, because again, those leads were so good. I kind of wanted them to take a walk just a little bit, because I mean, it's melody, but they're really shreddy too. And again, they work with like good leads to fit the song too. That is very important. It doesn't like take away from the mood. Like you don't get this big dreary song with a really happy shreddy lead. Like, no, that doesn't make sense. Make it dreary. Make it kind of morose and ugly sounding. And I mean, as far as like maybe one moment of them doing too much, Thy Will Be Done, there is like an odd sort of mid-tempo break that just kind of comes in and does not repeat.
Yeah.
And then it goes right back into Full Tilt Boogie, which that song, I think without that moment, that was just kind of an odd spot. The rest of it is just absolutely amazing. Killer Galloping Bridge on there. This one gave me like the big left-hand path feel too. But that one little moment, it just seemed like that was maybe the one moment on here where I think they tried to do a little bit too much. Because the rest of these songs just flow really well.
The transitions are spot on, yeah. Yeah, I guess if that would have been a gripe, I guess I would say that in that one spot, it just sounded a little like it didn't belong there. Like there might have been an incomplete thought, and they were just like, "Fuck it, let's just."
I mean, it was like, we got this riff, we got to work it in somehow. I was like, maybe maybe save it for another one. But I mean, I can't complain about the rest of the song because the rest of the song's awesome. Literally, this album fires on pretty much every cylinder. Like, this is what I look for in death metal. And my God, riff-centric, great, like, leads. There's still melody in it, but it still stays brutal as hell.
I mean, like we said, it's like old school death metal. I mean, when we were talking earlier, when did this come out? In 91? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it. This year?
21. So, yeah, I mean, this sounds like it easily could have come out 30 years ago and whooped everybody's ass.
Here it is now, whooping our ass in 2021. So, overall, I gotta give this 4.5 stars. I dug this. Like, this has a big nostalgic feel for me because, that's like, an era of death metal I love, that early 90s sound. But in terms of just firing on all cylinders again, like checking off every box, this does it. It is maybe derivative, but it's a fun derivative. I can listen to this all day and be happy as hell. And plus, you got Dan Swano do the mix, and literally, this is like the perfect thing for him to mix. Like, all those years in Bloodbath and Edge of Sanity, yeah, he knows this sound, and he knows how to make it sound great. And he did this album, whoops ass, go get it. It's just badass.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yep. I gotta give it 4.5 as well. I really, really like how simple this is, but how, really just heavy, amazing songs out of something so simplistic. It's like going to see Jungle Rot. Like, not a whole lot going on here, but cool.
Old school.
Right, and this is the same feel, and like, my head never stopped moving, I never lost interest. The pacing is really done well, the transitions were done well, what little lead work there is done beautifully. This was a great listen. It's like the third time I've heard this album today, but buy it. Go buy it. Go buy some merch. Tito from Everlasting Spew has a code available on indie merch. So I know you just put up a bunch of stuff from Helslave and a bunch of stuff from Hideous Divinity. Stop in to indie merch and snag up.
I might have to get some stuff.
I mean, I'm probably gonna buy.
I'm gonna order this album. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I went 2 or 3 weeks without buying band merch. I mean, it's probably gonna come to an end because I'm probably gonna buy a shirt.
It's like a new record.
Because
right?
the album cover on this is pretty cool too.
I know.
So
I mean, like I said, you checked off every box. It's badass death metal.
Yeah. Yep. So check it out.
You won.
100%.
You won. You got me.
Good job.
Another band that seemed to discover my algorithm.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much.
So if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. And we're also on Patreon. So if you would like to help us out there, click the link below and we will offer you more stuff on there, like podcasts and outtakes. And,
dude, the outtakes have been fun.
Yeah. And then, like random stuff, dumb pictures of us, which any picture of us is probably dumb.
I have miles and miles of the most ridiculous, stupid things you'll ever see.
I mean, you thought our thumbnails were dumb.
Yeah.
They are.
You haven't even seen the real McCoy. And look, all that for $3.
So if you would like to help us out there, we would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I thank all of you. And we will catch you later.